Journal entry for Sunday, January the 18th. So much happened, it's really late. I'm going to try to slam this. Another crazy, insane day full of stuff. I don't know if I'm going to have time to cover all of it. Um, so, first of all, is the 8 o'clock breakfast at the church where the preacher does not like me. Um, he is like a soft-spoken, beta male. He seems like a nice man. He has pork spirits. You can tell clearly he has a pork shape. I'm not trying to bash anyone. I actually thought he was probably a nice man. He looked like a nice man. But he just passively sits back and watches me and lets me be attacked and lets the member of his church cuss me out or give me dirty looks or be rude and disrespectful. And then actually stood and distracted me while my coffee was poisoned last week. So anyways, I did tell this pastor last week, finally, that God has me tell people not to eat pork. So I informed him not to eat pork. And that was done. I did my part, but he did not receive the message. Anyways, so there is a couple that I have talked to and even went places with a few times, and they are guitar players, having played, the husband having played for like 60 years, very skilled, and then today they did not do the normal gospel music. They sang, and it was like a 70s song, and her voice was just like the 70s singers. They are very talented. But anyways, there was a Bible teaching about Jesus resurrecting 3 days later, and that prophecy about the temple was about him, his body. So they couldn't find a song about this, so they chose a song about alcohol. It was just that if God doesn't like it, I don't either. And that is a good message. That is a good message. Because Jesus was cleansing the temple and making whips. The whips, this was in the short sermon. The whips were not that strong. They were made out of reeds, so they would not have been intimidating people physically. But it was about people who claimed to worship God. And of course they covered the temple currency, as that was why Jesus was upset. That wasn't the only reason Jesus would be upset with a church. Jesus would also be upset with a church if they taught lies. So it's not just because they had their own currency you could only use, like, you could only use your money in the temple, because they're temple coins or something. That's not the only reason to have a disagreement with the teachings being wrong was a big one. Racism and sexism were big ones. I'm going to tell you that, of course, Jesus had a problem with this. But anyways, after this short sermon, there was quite a few people in there. One woman mentioned that, like, she prayed, or there was a prayer on the 700 Club. It was directly answered, and so she had a testimony about that. I don't know what it was. I don't remember if it was said. Somebody asked to pray for unity in our town. One of the men, who's a larger guy who goes to the soup kitchen, actually prayed because his wife, who is also larger, her best friend had a heart attack. So maybe this is a wake-up call for them to be a little healthier. But that's why I was wondering. I hadn't seen her, and I hadn't seen her in a while, and that is sad. It must be why. That she had a pacemaker put in and things weren't going well. So, but he went by and asked anyone, because there's a little bag of fruit that comes with the breakfast. If anyone didn't want their fruit, he was going to take it. So I think that was a little sign, like, he, instead of just wanting to take pancakes or sausage or whatever, he was wanting bags of fruit and trying to take those. Of course, they took donuts too, but that's sad. We don't want anything bad to happen to people. So after the short sermon, they do communion, and then it was time to do breakfast, and I wasn't sure whether there was going to be pork or not. I was not surprised that there was pork. I really was not surprised. Because I've seen what goes. This pastor has pork spirits. He doesn't want to give up his pork spirits, so he just sits by and does nothing while people get abused and disrespected and harassed. So he sits by and lets that happen. So today he stood there and he was maybe standing like 5 feet from the table I was sitting at. So I was at the far end of the table. And maybe 5 feet from that table, the pastor or the preacher, I don't know which one you say, he was just standing there calmly, no expression, just looking at me. And he watched when I got the breakfast, opened it up and saw that it was sausage gravy again. And so he already knows I don't eat pork. But this was like his answer when I told him God says not to eat pork. So he stood there and he watched me as I got the meal, and I thought it could be pork. It's probably pork. Maybe it's not. That's what I was thinking. I was probably actually thinking it's more likely going to have pork than not, but I don't know. And then I open it, it's pork, and they're like, "Oh, could you bring me one without pork, without?" And so he watches, and actually the pastor brings me one without pork, but he watched me, and I looked at him, and I just did not react. I was just calm, and then and I asked for one without pork, and then he brought it. So this was his little sign to me that he's going to keep serving pork, and that's fine, because this is something that was revealed to me last year. It's my responsibility to relay the message. The rest of it falls on the pastor. It's not up to me whether he changes. That's up to him. But if he doesn't do the reforms, then worse things will happen to the church. And we don't want to see that. They already have to try to combine their membership with other churches to have enough people. So it wouldn't have to be the case if certain changes were made. But anyways, the serial killer is out again, and he showed up after. So he showed up after the normal breakfast, and I was like, I ate a whole bunch of cereal the night before, so I was just eating the biscuits real slow, and I was having my coffee too, and it was hot, so I had to cool down. So there wasn't a lot of people left in there, and the serial killer, he came in, so Bike Man came and sat across from me, and he said a few gibberish things, but anyways, I think he's trying to intimidate me and scare me, which he's probably done with other victims, but I just sit there and I don't react, and maybe just like talk a little bit and then kind of ignore him. So anyways, he had a different outfit on this time. So he must have just got new clothes. There is a homeless shelter for men where they take baths, they get new outfits. So he had new clothing on. And I think he might have I don't know if he got arrested or not. But without enough evidence, they get released later. So that could be what happened, or maybe his hitman got arrested. And he was laying low and just had the wrench sitting out. And if I had taken the wrench, then who knows what type of spiritual thing I would have agreed to. I wasn't going to take that wrench. I'm not dumb. And I saw what street it was by. But anyways, he was there. And then I had told the older couple that, like, the kingdom of darkness was after me, and witches and warlocks were sending people to kill me, but then God just strikes them all down, and I'm not going to be killed, but they send people to try to kill me all the time, and then God just takes care of it. So anyways, then they were watching. They normally don't pay any attention, but then there was only a few people left in the building, and then they were cleaning up, so they were in there. And then they saw Bike Man sit across from me. and they remembered what I said. And I don't know if it seemed like they believed me, but who knows? Maybe they're like, well, maybe they didn't really. Maybe they. I thought they did actually, but I don't know. Maybe they did. But then they saw him sit across from me, and then the wife actually. Then she came over and she came to the table. When she noticed this, like I was just sitting there, kind of looking like, like I looked at him a little bit, like, not too reactive. Like I wasn't like too concerned or anything. I looked at him in a way to let him see this is what I'm talking about. And then she came over and she was trying to look at his face and he was turning his face away. And then she came over and like leaned down and Bike Man got up and left. He got up and left. He didn't want her to look at him. And they actually mentioned during the service like happy birthday to one of the people that was I think in the kitchen preparing the food. And he didn't seem like a bad man. But I never had a chance to talk to him or anything because he's in the back. So it was his 61st birthday, which is a 7, 6 plus 1. And anyways, then there were when almost everybody had left, and I was just taking my time eating because I wasn't that hungry at 8 in the morning. I mean, and I was drinking my coffee, and Bike Man came and sat down, and I just took my time and drank my coffee. I didn't run away or anything. He tried to say some things, and anyways, then I did like just look at him a little bit to to like see, and then so there was me sitting at the table, then the serial killer here, and then there was a very tall black man in the back just by himself walking around. And I'm not saying this to be racist. The black gang has been brought in to take me out. Like, actually, this is the absolute truth. The black gang has been brought in to try to kill me, and they can't. God will not allow it. So anyways, there's just one really big, and this is somebody that's not normally there. It's like, I think they weren't even locals. They brought in people from a larger city to this small town to get me, is what I am saying. Because I never saw them before. They never came to the soup kitchen before. They didn't come to this free breakfast before. And then the head witch has a stack of cash, and then those people don't work, and then they just keep bringing bigger and bigger criminals. So here's this guy just kind of wandering. So this couple that plays a guitar, and they clean up and they sing. So they sing, they do a little short sermon, and then they clean up after. They never had any children, so they like to do this. And so it's really just me and a few other people. They see I'm sitting at the table. Here's the serial killer came and sat across from me, which she now is noticing. And then there's a very tall black man by himself who is older, who looks like a gangster. I'm just going to say. Maybe he's not, but I just told them last time that there's a serial killer and the black gang's after me. And here it was me in the room with the serial killer and this very tall black man who looked not very nice. And then that's it. So that's what I'm saying. There's plenty of other people. They do stuff to me, but they don't do anything that bad. They have to because they sold out, so they have to, but they don't even want to. Anyway, so then they actually were like, oh, and they shoot him off. They shoot him off. Anyways, then when I left, and I told them their music was great earlier, not right now. But when I left, I went out to my bike, and there was another bike there. So I know they're not done yet. Here was another attempt to take my life. So I came out, and there was another black man out there. So the entire black gang has been brought to our small town to try to take me out. That's what I'm saying, the black gang. And I know, because I have lived here almost 2 years. I go to the gym. I go to this breakfast. I go around town. I've been going to the soup kitchen for 2 months. I've been going to the gym almost since I moved here. I know who's there. I know who's not there. I know something that is highly unusual. So anyways, I come out to unlock my bike and leave, and then there's another bike there, and then there's a black man there. He seems to be about my height, but he's probably taller. And he doesn't look like threatening or anything, and he's got kind of a little bit, maybe not a gay accent, because he could have had a straight accent, but there's a little sass in his voice, and he's got cowboy boots on. And I said, oh, nice boots. I like your boots. And then I showed him my boots that have, like, my Ugg boots with, like, the the fake tattoos on the back. And then he says, I normally don't come here, but I had to bury a dead bird. So he said that this is what, when you say this, they're talking about burying. You got to reject it. So, like, I immediately countered this, and it sounded great, but I can't do it now. I probably can't do it now. And then I said, but God gives life, gives eternal life, and then something about being resurrected is even more glorious. But they said that with the burying the bird, and I said, but God gives life or something. I forget what I said. So that's why it was God inspiring this, because it sounded really good, and now I don't remember. But I just countered it immediately. And then this man was like, and you can't, and how, he didn't say and how, but it's like, and you countered that, and countered that right away. And he called me his queen. He called me his queen because he came in to do the spell. Had I not rejected it or countered it, that would have allowed them to kill me. This is their witchcraft, a spell. So when they said, I normally don't come in, but I had to bury a dead bird this morning. Okay, so then you hear that, and they say this, you got to counter it. And so I said something about God giving life. And then, he complimented me on countering his attack and like doing a good job. So this was from the inspiration of God. I knew some of it. Like, actually, I would have countered it on my own, but it wouldn't have sounded that good, is what I'm saying. I know to counter that, but it came out of my mouth and it sounded really nice. That was God. It didn't sound like all silly. Anyways, he called me his queen, I guess, because, and I actually think that he meant it, because he came in to do this death spell, and then I was calm and I just flipped it, and then I said, and then something about being resurrected even more glorious too. So that was like an extra thing. So because of how good that counter was, he called me his queen. That was pretty cool. Anyways, let's see. I'm trying to remember. Oh, before I left, so remember, there's the man that works behind or he volunteers. He helps out behind the counter, making the breakfast to serve to people. It was his birthday. So then, after the older couple shoot away the serial killer and the black man who is probably a hitman. Okay, there's one of each, because they have both been employed to kill me. After they shooed them away, then the man who was in the back, it was his birthday, came out and he talked a little bit. And he actually mentioned something about the serial killer, okay? He doesn't know he's a serial killer. He doesn't know that. And he was mentioning how he was talking about the crowns of life, like the 5 crowns of life. He was talking to me about that. And then I told him, so then we were just talking, and I didn't freak out. I didn't say he's a serial killer. I said, is there any way he can get some mental help? Like, I didn't say that. Is there some way he can get medical treatment or some treatment? And then he talked a little bit, and he said, yeah, I told him he could go to this, like, rehab place, and they'll get an apartment and Social Security and everything for him. And then I said, it's not a good situation for him. He's got multiple personalities. And he lives in an abandoned house. So I didn't say it freaking out. I said, he needs treatment. So, this man here is saying he told him he could go get an apartment. He could get help. He goes to this center. And I said, yeah, it's not up to me, but it's not good. It's not, I don't know if what I have to do with this, but, or I was basically saying it's not like up to me, I'm not like I don't remember exactly what I said, but like, I wasn't going to tell him, but I was telling this man who spoke to him that, his situation isn't good. He has multiple personalities and needs medical treatment. So maybe that, like, if he wasn't thinking of this before, um, that he is not going to check himself, and he's not going to come up with the idea on his own. to, and there are things that are stopping him, like where he needs intervention. So maybe I mentioned, I don't know, maybe this man, I don't know what's going on. But if the serial killer isn't able to get me, it's making me wonder if he's talking about the crowns of life to this man, then he could be trying to kill him too. Um, and he's getting older. So this is just the thought came in my mind, is that the serial killer, he keeps trying to get me, and I think he's getting caught, but there's not enough evidence and he's getting released. Now here's another man who just turned 61 at this church, and the serial killer is talking about the crowns of life to him too. Now later he's going to say his crown of life is broken, and then that's supposed to scare you. Okay, so since he's saying this, he is saying this to the man that volunteers at the church. That might mean that he is looking for victims and he needs a victim. And his life could possibly be in danger. I am not sure. But if he is getting older, then he might have a mission to sacrifice himself to take down a dangerous killer. Is that if it's like they can catch him in his car with all types of weapons, but if he doesn't do anything, then they can't keep him, is what I'm saying. But if someone would sacrifice themselves, I don't know. So maybe he's going to try to get this man and get caught. I don't know. Or maybe he can convince him to go and get some mental health treatment, which he needs. It's not good. It looks like he's crazy. And this is the type of thing, like, you should not have free will in deciding whether to go to the mental hospital, because he actually has, he is a serial killer, but he has, like, a dark passenger, which I don't know if that's half of him or all of him at this point. It's not safe for the public, obviously, but he does not have a sound mind to make that decision on his own. So anyways, that was mentioned. And then, let's see. Then I went to the other church. See, was there anything else here that covered? Oh, they said it was cold. It was going to be colder. And then when they asked what to pray for, somebody mentioned better weather. Let's see. I'm just going to go through this quickly now. Then I biked to the other church, the Mormon church. I actually went the long way, and I found another overpass like a mile out. I found an overpass, but it's way on the other side of town. Excuse me. For this, okay, so when I went to the Mormon church, now the young men there, the missionaries, are good people, but most churches I've seen are infiltrated. So today what happened is I came in, there was a new man there today, and he had on a suit, and he was pretty attractive. Now, not like a 10 to me or anything. I'm saying he was a pretty attractive guy. He was groomed well. He had on a suit, and he was in there. And he was waiting to greet me. Do you know where this is going? But nothing happened. But I'm saying this was another attempt to hit on me. It clearly was. Now, of course, they are respectful and don't, but it was clear. And then I walked in, and then there's a bunch of seats in the back, and then there's some like folders and things on it, and he was standing there. And I asked him, "Are these assigned seats?" And he said, "Oh no, you can sit anywhere." And he had asked me if I wanted to sit next to him. I'm like, "Oh sure." And then I go and sit next to him. I put my bag in between us though, and I'm not too close. We're pretty close, but it's not weird. And I understood what was going on here. They just talk a couple sentences, and apparently he's from Utah. He seemed like a pretty nice guy. That this is another counterfeit. Anyways, they sent in like a well-groomed guy. He didn't know if I was homeless. He asked what my situation, because they see I'm on a bike. He actually mentioned, I didn't know. I came in. He knew I was on a bike. I didn't tell him. So here's a clue. Like, so I came in, and then I went to the bathroom to blow my nose and come back. And once I did that, he was by that back up, by that, there's like a doorway towards the back that I came in. So he was kind of around that area. And he knew I was going to be coming that way, I'm sure. But he mentioned something about it's so cold on the bike, isn't it, or cold outside. So he knew I was on a bicycle. And no, you wouldn't know this unless someone told you and you knew who I was and was waiting. And then I actually said, oh, it's not too bad. Actually, it gets hot inside once you get in. And then he held his hand out to shake it. And I know that there was a love magic spell before with the handshake. But this time, I was not too concerned about this because the church itself is not ran by the as bad of spirits. Okay, it could be just good people doing bad things and some good people. So I did not feel like I couldn't shake his hand. It seemed appropriate. He reached his hand out to shake it. I shook it. So there was no magic spell here. And they usually combine that with food or drink that is cursed. So then I sat next to him. And then I just watched the service. But I understand what this is. Oh, look, here is... And he looked younger than me, too. Like, well put together. He's got a suit on and pretty good looking. You know, I'm not stupid. And he was talking to me. And then I watched the service, and I had actually had prayed to God to know about... because there was a weird haze in the church after they did the communion at this church. Like, where everything, it looked like a white haze, and it was almost like an optical illusion. So then I thought maybe I'm seeing in the spirit, because I asked the missionaries, and they didn't know what I was talking about. So I think God was showing me something in there. Almost like a white mist or something. It was like, almost like the walls were like eggshell white, but it's almost like that little particles of that color were materializing a little bit. It was weird. I think, is there some type of spell put on? And I asked them who does the communion, and they said they've got like people that they pick to do that type of thing. And then today I had prayed to ask, like, to, or actually I think I prayed right before they did the communion. Yeah, I prayed right before they did the communion to know, you know, more about it. Like, I think I prayed to know who did it and like what's going on with that. And they said, right before doing the communion, they said, where is this? They asked God in Jesus' name to bless the water of the communion. And I did not see the haze. So maybe my question still isn't answered. So the last two times I saw the haze after they did the communion. This time I prayed and I asked God to know what's going on with this. Or like, is this good or bad? And then I think it was even a child that came up and said, and they asked God in the name of Jesus to bless the communion water. But I didn't see the materialization. So maybe all of the time it's blessed by God, but then I didn't see the haze today. So that, if there's a haze next time, and they don't say that, then maybe my answer is opposite. They did, during the service cover, they had hymn 177, which is a 17 and a 77. They, on February 22nd, sing at a world conference, which is 222. And they have choir practice. I'm not a singer, so that's not my thing, but the singing will be on 222. I thought was interesting. This is one thing I like. They let everybody come up and speak. They had a 9-year-old boy. He comes up and he spoke, and they prepared something to tell. And his message was about the 13th article of faith. I don't like how they number it because that makes it sound boring. I'm just gonna say it makes it boring. And then I don't want to hear it. Like, it kind of sounds like it's not from God when they say 13th article of faith. But anyways, his message was great. So I understand they're trying to identify stuff. But then some people that want to be pretentious still use this, like by memorizing the article numbers so that they can be more righteous. So maybe there's another way to do this. But anyways, the kid came up and you could tell he was a good boy. He had a great message. It was about honesty, telling the truth, like, because God wants you to make God happy, essentially. Doing good, being kind, chaste, like, just like a great message. They let a 9-year-old come up and prepare something and speak, and it was right. It was spot on. And these young men, like, maybe they're a little soft around the. No, I'm not saying that, but I mean, maybe they are more innocent. Or you could see some kids that have been around crime and inner city stuff, like they're rough, but that they are good and they are doing things right. Um, let's see. Then the pastor's granddaughter came up and spoke next. I don't know how old she is. Maybe she's a young adult. She could be a teenager. I don't know. And she covered like walking in God's light and boundaries. And this was another Epistles of Paul thing she quoted. But some of the teachings of the Pharisees are true. So it's not all wrong. Or it'd just be straight out. Like, yeah, I guess it is kind of Satanism. But like, if it was all a lie, no one would believe it. So they tell mostly truth and then some mixed lies in with it. How do you know? Oh, and she said, how do you know the Lord is there? The peaceful feeling. Okay. So, like, just that feeling alone to me is not enough proof for me. But then I keep hearing this, so maybe it's supposed to be. It's just that I need more than that. Like, and I do get more than that most of the time to prove. But I get, like, I get my life destroyed to know. And then the same woman who leads a lot of the groups was there today. Apparently she wasn't there last weekend and neither was I. And this time, like, she almost looked a little arrogant. Like, not bad, but like, when I first met her, she almost was a little pretentious. And I'm not saying she's a bad person, but like a little arrogant, a little pretentious. And I didn't really know if she was an enemy or not. And I thought she was. Because she gave me something. She gave me a Merry Christmas thing. I was cursed. And she did seem like arrogant. But it wasn't extremely so. She was not extremely arrogant. Well, today, when I saw her, she looked more authentic, more humble. She looked much more humble, so I don't know what happened. But, and I told her, you look good today. And maybe she looks a little tired and stuff, but actually she did. She looked a lot better to me. Because before she was kind of arrogant, and then to this day, she was more normal. So and she looked a lot better to me. But I don't know what's going on. It has to be something good, like to drop some of a mask, you know? There's also some numbers that are just in the back. I don't know what they mean. I should probably ask. But the first number they had up there was the day I was born. The second number was 177. And the next number was 58. 8 plus 5 equals, well, what is that? 13. I don't know. And then there was a 30. I don't know what that means. But it was my birthday, then a 177, then two other numbers. So I thought that was significant, so I wrote it down. I don't know what that means. Okay. See what's going on here. So then there was Sunday school after that. There was two things. There was two things going on. There was Sunday school and another class, like the women's group. So I think there was an older woman there, and she talked to me a little bit. Oh, wait, this is what it was. So during the service, I sat next to the man, and then he was kind of talking to somebody else at the end, and not pressuring me. That would have been too much. They're a little smart. So he was talking to the people on the other side, and not looking at me and not talking to me. Then this older woman comes by, because I'm on the outside, and she talks to me, and we're talking a little bit. And then I said, oh, there's some other thing going on. And she escorted, she's like, yeah, I'll show you where it is. She escorted me and took me to the Sunday school instead of the women's group. And then we went and sat down and talked a little bit. And she was talking over some of the Sunday school lesson a little bit. That's okay, but, it was a little rude. But she was working with the man. Anyways, then, and I sit down, and she sits down next to me, and then people start sitting down, and then there's one seat left right next to me. Who comes in and sits there? Who do you think comes and sits there? The man. The man who I was sitting to early. They bring another suitor. They're bringing another suitor. Look, this one looks good. Yeah, it looks a lot better than the ex-narcissist. It looks a lot better than the devil I was with. It does. But it's another counterfeit. It's not the right one. But this was a plan. So he waited. So he can't be too aggressive, and he can't be disrespectful. It has to look natural. It has to look polite. So he asked if I wanted to sit with him. I said sure, and then I go and sit down. And then at the end of the service, he talks to the people on the other side and does not talk to me. And then the woman comes by and talks to me, and she takes me to this class, and I sit down, and everyone else sits down. And there's one seat left right next to me. And then after everyone has sat down, then the man comes in. I don't even know if he was in the room. Then he has to sit next to me. So anyways, then I started coughing. Like they're doing the Sunday school. I'm like, oh no, I got to cough. I start hacking really loud. And then the woman sitting next to me, she tries to give me a cough drop. And I knew this was cursed. And I said, oh, no thank you, it's witchcraft. And she was a little weirded out. I said, yeah, it's witchcraft. And so here's the man that they sent to be a suitor on this side. On the other side are some missionaries. So, in between me and the missionaries is the counterfeit that they have sent. Anyways, I know, had I taken that candy, the love magic probably would have been activated. I'm not dumb. I have seen it before. I know how it works. So, this time, I handled it properly. So, when the narcissist at the other church offered me the bottle of water, I should have said no. No thank you. Just like I said no thank you to the lozenge. And I said, I don't need the lozenge, it's witchcraft. And I was like coughing really loud. And I didn't want to, but I said it's witchcraft. During this service, they covered like creation. They're going into the Old Testament. So, I noticed they invited me to this church right when they started covering the Old Testament. They just finished the New Testament. They did not invite me during the New Testament. They invited me right when they started the Old Testament. They covered 7 days of creation, like where the order of creation is light, organizing heaven and earth, dry land, vegetation, evening and morning, which is a day. Evening first, then morning is a day. Night and day, the firmament, then birds, fish, humans, and then having dominion, and then rest on the 7th day, which is, they said Sabbath was Sunday, but it's actually Saturday, but at least they have a day. And they were saying to keep the day holy, we come to church. Actually, that's not. You're supposed to, like, relax and have fun and, like, go, like, have a picnic or play with your family, okay? And you can go to church, but that's not what... Sabbath was not made so we have to go to church. Like, who wants to go to church? Well, I want to make God happy, so I'm doing the missions, okay? And actually, this is better than being at home alone. I'm going to say that. But, Sabbath should not be spent at church. I don't think. Like, unless you're alone and that's what you like. I thought it was just where you could relax and enjoy your life without having to go to work. Like, whatever you want to do that day. So what people normally do Saturday. Except for no buying and selling. So you can go play some games, play some sports, make some crafts, sleep in. Do all types of things. It doesn't have to be going to church. But anyways, they said coming to church. So they're putting their own opinion. This obviously, they're not saying God told them this. But maybe there's that assumption when you hear it. But anyways, let's see. And the speaker, there's a husband and wife there. So the woman I said was kind of arrogant. Today was more humble, and I thought I liked that a lot more. And and then the man is her husband. He was doing the Sunday school, and he mentioned something about women being better. And so I wrote on my notepad, when they say that, that's when they steal power like one way and then flip it. Anyways, that means they might subjugate. So they were trying to explain creation, and it sounds like women are secondary, and they didn't understand, and they said like, and during creation how like men and women were already created, and then Eve is created, and they didn't understand like they didn't really understand a lot of things, and they were just guessing. And they said, does anyone know? And nobody really knew. Of course, no one perfectly knows, but they had no idea, and they wanted to know. So and then I'm thinking, I know, I know, but I didn't want to raise my hand and say this in front of the whole group. Um, this is more the type of thing that I learned that, yeah, you can talk to people if you know them well and stuff. But in front of an entire group of people that you hardly know, you don't go in and just say this stuff. So, like, you can eventually, but the first step is that you go and just tell the leadership. You just go and tell the leadership, see how they receive it. Well, actually, I did not really think they would receive this. So, I thought, I'll tell the missionaries, the young men. They actually listen to what I say, and they like me. So, and they're good. And that's why they listen to me and like what I say, is because they're good. And they're not jealous of me. This is so weird. This is not like, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher, I'm not looking to take over anybody's job. But for some reason, like, they still get jealous. Um, which is kind of funny, because I'm supposed to be a mom, and they're jealous of me because, I don't know, I guess God tells me things, but that doesn't get rid of their job. If anything, I give them some information, they can do a better job. I mean, but anyways, what am I even talking about here? So they didn't understand a lot of things about creation, and they were actually really trying to understand gender creation, and there was a few people that mentioned this and didn't know. So then when this was over, and this isn't the regular church service, this is a presentation. It's like a Sunday school lesson going on by this man who seems, he's not aggressive, he's not mean or anything. He actually seems like a pretty nice guy. But maybe he's like a neurologist, he's a doctor. So and he seems like a nice man, and his wife, which is this woman, and once they get rid of the arrogance, they seem like really nice people. So I'm not trying to bash anyone, because I have improved a lot. Like, since in the last few years, I've improved a lot, and so I saw an improvement in the wife, like, from 2 weeks ago, and maybe it won't be that way next week. But anyways, because if he's a neurologist and this was mentioned, then that gives him esteem and prestige. And who am I? Oh, I was a homeschool mom? That's not respect. Well, actually, they might respect that. Actually, this church, they think women should be mothers, so that they probably would respect. They probably do respect that. But I'm saying is that the church, the missionaries, they know that. And I told them God doesn't allow me to have a job. They know that I don't have a job. They respect me anyways. And it's because of what I say. And, but not everyone feels that way. So I thought maybe this couple would maybe not necessarily look down, but like more listen to someone's opinions or what they say more if they have a certain background. That's just the impression I have. Maybe I'm not right. But anyways, yeah, I just don't really know, because I thought she cursed me, but, she was a lot more humble today, and, they don't seem like bad people. They don't, and most people have a few demons, most people have a couple sins but they're doing mostly good, so that would still be saved. So I'm just saying my honest opinion is that if it stays this way, I saw a noticeable improvement and that it was a lot better. Um, so then after the service, I saw there was the two young missionaries there, and they are like close to 7 foot tall. So it's kind of funny. They are about 7 foot tall. But anyways, I saw them there. I'm like, hey, do you guys want to know about like the creation of the genders? And they're like, oh sure, yeah. They wanted to know. I'm like, hey, do you want to know? So after this thing where nobody knew and they couldn't figure it out, then I knew these guys would listen. If I said it during the whole thing, then it might not be very well received. I know, because there's a lot of older people, they haven't heard this. A cop car. Two. Going down my street. I knew it wouldn't be very well received, but I knew they would. They are believers. And say, hey, do you want to know? And so I just told them real quick. So the first, and the Orthodox Jews knew the first, like they know the truth, which is that we were spirits before we had spirit bodies. We lived in heaven before we came to earth. They know this. So I said, you know how we were spirits first in heaven. And the first humans were hermaphrodites, and then they were split. So anyways, and I told him, and so there's only one person for everybody. I just said it real quick, and then another woman comes over, and while I'm finishing this, there's only one person for everybody. I told him this, and so I just knew it. Anyways, the woman come over, and she's like, oh, do you mind if I join you in your talks? Because the missionaries like to meet with me. And she's like, do you mind if I meet with you in your talks with the missionaries? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. She seemed like she actually wants to hear, and she's curious. But, you know, it could always be an enemy. It usually is. But this time I actually feel like that this is not an enemy, and she is curious and wants to hear. And so I'm like, sure, of course, of course. But anyways, what's going on here? What's going on? So I just quickly told him the answer that nobody knew. I'm like, and this is how it works. And I just said it real quick. And then as I'm finishing that, the other woman comes around. So this prevents anything weird. They could just absorb and hear what I said. And nothing else needed to be said. And I'm like, and she asked, do you mind if I can sit in on your talks? I didn't know this was a talk. I thought they were inviting me. And because they were supposed to be inviting me and telling me about the church. But instead we have our talks. It's kind of funny. I'm like, sure. After this service, I was kind of leaving, and then there was an older man with a cane there, and we started talking, and he mentioned he had a dog that died when it was 17, which meant this was meant to happen. We talked a little bit, and I said my dog died when he was 17, and like how he has another dog, and yeah, how I ended up getting more dogs, and we talked about like, I don't know, this came up like the end of customer service and things, and I mentioned like about the gas company, and he agreed, and then like saying how it's going to go out of business if they don't fix it, and he was like, yeah. So that was good. Like he knew, we were on the same page there. And his daughter came up as we were finishing talking, and told me she would give me a ride to church. And I said, but I don't know if I'm coming this weekend or next, because there's more than 150 churches here, and I'm trying to get to all of them. And I said, I don't really know what church I'm going to go to, because it's when somebody invites me to a church, then I go there. So I won't really know until the day before. So she said, okay, well, I invite you to the church next weekend. I invite you to the church next weekend. Well, okay. I guess I'm going. So she's invited me, and she's going to drive me. So I guess I am going back to the Mormon church. And actually, I did go to the bathroom before I left. And so before I talked to this older man here, and he seemed like a nice man. And his daughter came out, offered to drive me. So I don't know if this is something evil. It seemed like something good. So I could be wrong. It seems like something good, and then the enemy does infiltrate. But, when I was in the bathroom, there was a woman in there, and she had the look like maybe she was a witch. But, they say there's good witches and bad witches, so no witchcraft is good. But anyways, some witches try to hurt others, and some don't. So my opinion is she's the kind that does not try to hurt people. So, okay, that's not as bad, but it's still, you know, I don't know. I'm only saying based on the purple, the haircut, certain things to me looked like the costume of a witch because I've seen them before. But maybe she isn't. Um, but she was nice to me in the bathroom. Um, let's see, I had to blow my nose and let's see. Well, I was in there and I was putting something in my bag and I couldn't get it zipped. That's why it was. I'm some kind of idiot, I guess. My little bag that goes around my neck has a zipper on the front and the back. And I was putting something in there and trying to close it. And then I grabbed the one that was on the front and it was supposed to be on the back. I grabbed the wrong zipper and I was pulling it the wrong way. So I couldn't figure it out. And because of that, I was still in the bathroom when she came out. And I said, I said something about how I couldn't figure out my bag or I wasn't very smart or something. I didn't say I wasn't very smart, but I just made some comment like how I couldn't figure out how to close my bag, so I'm still in here. And this was God. This was God because we were supposed to talk. And it turns out, like, she was talking about and I said, do you know anything about the recovery? I don't know how this came up for the addiction recovery classes. And she said, yeah, and she mentioned someone. And they went to a different church for these services. And then I said the name of the church, and she said, yeah, I think that's it. And I said, those are the classes I go to. And then she gave me the name. And so, and this might even be the man that I saw yesterday at the coffee house. It could even be his wife. I'm kind of thinking, because he said that his wife went to a Mormon church. And then here I was, there was a different woman in the bathroom that we talked for a minute. And she mentioned, and I don't know why I brought up the addiction and recovery. She mentioned something that was kind of like that. And so I said, do you know anything about these addiction and recovery classes? And she did, and then and it just rolled into basically the church that I go to on Tuesdays and the classes I go to on Tuesdays, and probably somebody I know is who she's talking about. Yeah, it's probably the man that does like the he was at all the meetings, and I think it's his wife. So wow, small world. And those are both of the good churches. Anyways, I got a ride, let's see. I went home, I made some phone calls, I had some stuff. Oh, wait. On my way back from this church, this is what, I'm forgetting everything. So, when the serial killer was sitting across from me, he mentioned, are you going to Planet Fitness? You're going to the Planet Fit. No, he said Planet right, but fitness, he said kind of the wrong word. I knew what he meant, though. You go into Planet, and then he said something that started with F, but it wasn't fitness. And you're going to Planet Fitness today? And I don't know, I don't remember if I answered or not. Maybe I said probably or something, yeah, I don't remember. I might have answered him, or I might have just said yeah or something, because I didn't really, I didn't have a reason not to answer this. They already know. They watched me anyways. I was just trying to talk to him, because you can't understand a lot of it. And I know what it is. It's trying to, sneak a spell in. And it's trying to sneak in a spell if you don't understand, if you don't counter or block it. So anyways, he mentioned that. And then that got me to thinking about going to Planet Fitness, which I wasn't necessarily going to do. On my way back from that church, it's easier to just go to Planet Fitness because I've already gone part of the way there. So then I just decided to go on to Planet Fitness. And while I was there, I saw some of the black gang was there. That Planet Fitness probably has a whole lot of new members now, because the black gang is joining. And I think I saw who was a white guy, the hitman for the serial killer. It could have been him I saw at Planet Fitness. I think that was him. And so they know because I went there with him, they know I use the massage chair. So they like to get in the chairs before I go in and I think it's to spy. I thought it was to block me, so they're full. But I think it's to spy on me, actually. So they're sitting in there when I come, and they're looking at what I'm doing and seeing, like, do I have some like magical talisman or something? I think so, and I don't. I got like a plastic Kroger bag, and um, there's no magic here. But anyway, so then there was the Black Gang is now at Planet Fitness, and the other killers too. But actually, the serial killer, he only had one guy working for him. So that's what I mean. I think that man showed up at Planet Fitness, but the Black Gang has a lot of people. So then I was talking to him at the counter, and then I see, and this is what I'm talking about. This is a black man standing there. It's not a normal black man. He's from the Black Gang, and I can tell, cause like the way he looked at me. He was standing there. He was only there to look at me and spy on me. That is what I'm saying. Um, and I saw him look at me as I walked past. I knew I've never seen this man before. And the way he looked at me, God allows us to discern spirits. The way he looked at me, he was in there just for me, and he was looking at me as I went past in a certain way. So it was clear. Anyways, and then when I went to the locker room, and I was gonna like use the bathroom then, but then they had these are this is nothing racist. I'm gonna say it's the Black Gang. They had brought in from somewhere. I don't know where they're from, but then there was like 3 black women in the bathroom that I hadn't seen before. There are some that are there, but these are different ones that I've never seen. I've been going to Planet Fitness almost 2 years. So these are women I've never seen before, and these new people start going after the Kingdom of Darkness is sending the Black Gang to kill me. That is what I'm saying. This is very obvious. I've been going for almost 2 years. I know who's there. I know, like, there's sometimes different people. But now there's a whole bunch of new Black Gang members going to Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is getting lots of money right now, I guess. But anyways, then they were in the bathroom. And so, like, when they would want to target me a couple weeks ago, then they'll have people moon me or have their breast out or something when I walk past. And I don't know if this is just disrespect, humiliation, or they have some type of gay spell. But these women did something different. Is that they just had a bunch of perfume. They were standing by the mirror, which is where I would have went to get my paper towel. And they had a bunch of perfume smell, and it smelled real bad. So I didn't even use the bathroom. I just put my coat in there and left. Because this is a thing. They share information. I was with the devil. He knows I did not like perfume. Other people from my past know I don't like perfume. So when I went in there, I was going to go to the bathroom, and there was like 3 of the Black Gang members, and they're in there, and they've got a bunch of perfume. I don't know if they just sprayed it. They did this on purpose. And so I just put my coat in there and left. I mean, wow, you really got me there. I went to the bathroom later. Let's see. What else? What else happened here? I mean, a lot of the stuff they do is kind of silly. So when I left, I saw a dead raccoon in the road. And I know dead animals roadkill could mean like the death of your old life, but I don't know what a raccoon means. Let's see. Yeah, and there have been people, they get in the massage chair, like right when I do or right before I do. They see me come in and they go in the massage chairs and they're waiting there for me to come in so they can spy on me. This is new. You can tell, like, cause normally people just go in, like, randomly. But they all go in, like, right when I get there. Or when they, when I'm about to use it, they go in. So that's what I'm saying. What is going on here? I tried to make a few phone calls. I got back home, tried to make a few phone calls. No one answered. I called, the Salvation Army has free dinner, and I think it's open today. Today's the first day since their vacation. They're having free dinner at the Salvation Army again. And I tried to call, no one answered. I tried to call a few other places, no one answered. I forgot to call the gym and ask them if they have the surveillance tape of a woman in a vehicle trying to hit me from last week. And I called Gabriel Brothers. Gabriel Brothers. So we'll get into that. And I just asked, and they said they were open till 9 o'clock, and I could bring a return. They could do returns till 9 o'clock. Anyways, as I'm leaving the gym, there you cross the street, and there's actually like a supplement store. And it was like Planet Health or something, but it has a sign, and on the sign it said, "Fear not, God is still on the throne." This was a message to me. I was actually not stressed at all. I was not stressed at all to see the serial killer. I'm just going to say. I hadn't seen him in a few days, so I thought maybe they got him for good. But once again, I think they just got him and had to release him. And so I'm thinking that he got out of jail already. He was already arrested and released. So that is not what is going to happen. That is not his karma. His karma is not going to prison. He already got picked up, I'm sure, and then released again, and here he is. But they could, if they found bodies, which I believe I know what lake and the river they're in, they could search and find. They could keep him, but actually, I think on Friday. So today was Sunday. On Friday, someone mentioned how someone asked them, like, they thought they were going to get arrested, and someone asked if they were suicidal, and they said yes, because they thought they wouldn't get in as much trouble, and they said that then they had to go to a mental hospital, and it was much worse than prison. They just told me this. They said a mental hospital was much worse than prison, and they like strip you down and like the way, because she had been to prison. She had been to prison like 6 times, and she said the loony bin, the mental hospital, was much worse. And so I think this is a little thing here, is the police keep trying to get him, and they can't. And she just told me the mental hospital is much worse than prison. And so that's what I'm thinking for him, is that prison is not a good enough punishment. But I thought this message was maybe like, for me, because I thought maybe the police had him and he was locked up because he was gone a couple days. I'd been seeing him every day, and then I didn't see him for like 2 days. And then I saw the cops get people on the bike trail. So I figured they got him. But then here he was in new clothes a couple days later. So then I think that message was for me. But then I also had a message from this woman last week. Mental hospital was much worse than prison. Much worse. Yeah, it was. And I wasn't even really thinking about it. But when I was at the church, and, the man I was talking to, he didn't know he was a serial killer. But he mentioned how he was talking about his crowns. And then I told him he's got multiple personalities, and I said, and he needs treatment. I said, it's not for me to decide, but I said, it's not up to, me, but I said he needs treatment. Is there some place he can get treatment? And then I told him he's got multiple personalities and he lives in an abandoned house. And so I told him this. Maybe that, because he might not have quite thought about it that way. Like, he talks about stuff, but when I said it, yeah, he's like, he's crazy. He needs treatment. Okay. Anyway, let's see here. I hope they have the video of that car trying to get me, because then I got right behind him and it was pretty cool. But anyways, the store right next door, if they don't have the footage, this store does, that store's closing. I went to the gym, the store right next to the gym, that has been there since I moved in and was there much longer. It says everything has to go, store closing. Everything must go, store closing. And so I didn't even think to go and ask them if they have the surveillance video. I was going to call the gym and ask if they had the video of the woman in the car. But I guess, maybe I still could. But because if they don't, then I need to ask this other store. And they're closing. So they probably won't keep it forever. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so I got home. I made some phone calls. I did a little research. And then I was going to make it so I was going to go to Salvation Army and then Gabriel Brothers before coming back home. Salvation Army has free dinner. I've never been there. I wanted to check it out. And I'm hungry. um, and then Gabriel Brothers, I had bought something way back before Christmas. It was a coat, like a jacket. And it ripped, like a big rip in the armpit when I washed it. But it says on the tag you can wash it. So I didn't know if it was right to return or not, but I planned on it because it says on the tag you can wash it, and then it was ruined. So I think it was defective then. But anyways, I went to the Salvation Army. It was just a small room, and it was like 3 people there. And I asked them after. They buy the food, they make the food. And they get donations and stuff, but they pay for stuff. So whatever the donation doesn't cover, they pay for it. They show up. So they are doing it. And actually there was a lot of food. This time there weren't many people, so they got to bring most of it home. So they get to keep the leftovers. And there's a lot of leftovers. But anyway, still, they don't need to come and do that. It's like they were actually doing this, it looked like, from the goodness of their heart and spending their own time and money on it. So that was a nice thing to do. The food was like noodles with meat and had a little bit of carrots and onions and potatoes. It tasted good. There was like a cookie and buttered bread. So it was actually a nice meal. And it said they were supposed to have take home, but there wasn't because they only had bowls. So there was no, but I had enough. Then I had to go. Oh my gosh, this is one. Oh my gosh, I forgot. So when I showed up, there's only 5 people at the Salvation Army dinner. The lookout for the narcissist was there. The lookout for the narcissist. And there was a sign-in sheet, and I walk in and I said, "Is this where the free food is?" And I ask him because I knew who he was. And then he's like, "Yeah, and you got to sign in." And I go sign in, and when I sign in, I also got up later and I looked at the names on the sheet and I got his full name. The lookout for the narcissist, I got his full name on here. And anyways, they just had a flat screen TV. It was warm in there. There was a flat screen TV with football on it. There was tables, people sitting there talking. Of course, me by myself. There's not very many people in there. So I got the name of the lookout for the narcissist. They had free coffee. You can get as many refills as you like. I sneezed at one point and I asked, "Do you have any tissues?" And they went and got and gave me like 5 tissues. So they weren't all stingy. The guy actually took some out and gave me like 5 tissues or something. I don't know how many. But it wasn't just one. And actually the church where they have breakfast, they don't want me to have any tissues. I walked upstairs and got my own tissue. But they don't want to give me a single tissue there. This man, he actually got a few, and he gave me more than one. So that was nice. And I told him thank you. Let's see. So as I looked at the football. I watched it a little bit. I never liked football. But I was surprised to see the men there were a little softer. They were not quite as tough as I thought. Well, I mean, I think they're maybe not. They looked more better. I don't know what this is. Me, my perception has changed, or how they look has changed. They just didn't seem as big, and they didn't seem as strong, and I did not dislike them for that reason. I disliked the culture, the sinful nature, and it was like wasted. Like, they wasted their lives. Like, they could have used the strength and the motivation for something that was actually important. And it's just wasted playing games and getting paid money to play games and be a bad person. So I never liked. But anyways, I watched it today, and they just seemed kind of like soft. I'm going to say like beta males, because they weren't. But like just that kind of look. They had a little bit of that look, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just, I remembered things used to look different, and maybe God has changed the way the world looks. Or maybe there was just something like overlaid, and that network has been dismantled. That's kind of what might happen. Maybe that's why we can all see who narcissists are too. Like if they were using radio waves, making themselves look like humans and looking serious, and that's just all taken down, then we see things for what they truly are. Anyways, let's see. I had to go to Gabriel Brothers because it was the very last day I could return stuff. I got it right before Christmas, so there was an extended return window. And the item broke. And so I am broke. So I needed to, I didn't know if they'd take it or not. I said, I prayed and said, God, I know this is something little, but, I didn't want to be stressing. And I gave it to God. And I'm going to show up. And so, like, if they treat me right, then I'm going to give a good review, or I didn't say this in the prayer, but, they're going to do good if they treat me right, and if they treat me wrong. So it's probably some type of mission. Anyways, I went there, and they took the item back. So the only thing is it has to go in this thing where it's basically wasted because it's damaged. And I didn't really like that. So I thought I'm going to buy another coat because I felt bad. Like, the item had to probably be defective to rip the way it did. But at the same time, like, it wasn't that way when I purchased it. And I waited till the very last day. I said I could have brought this in sooner, but I'm on a bicycle, and I was hoping I would get a ride. But I never got a ride. So I had to bike down here today. I had to bike like 3 miles. And it was like 15 degrees. I had to bike like 3 miles to return this jacket because it was the last day. And then it was true the item would be wasted. And honestly, if it was free, I would like try to super glue it or something to fix it. It wouldn't look very good. But to pay for it, I didn't want to do. If I could just have it for free. So I'm hoping that stuff doesn't just get thrown in the trash and maybe they donate it or give it away. Maybe it doesn't. I didn't like that. I didn't like the wasting. But actually, the condition was pretty bad. And if I wore it more, it'd probably rip a lot more. And it probably isn't very warm. Because that outer layer is supposed to be like waterproof. If there's a big rip in it, it's not waterproof. Let's see. Oh, when I so I got another coat. It was about the same price. So it's like, instead of getting money back, it was pretty much the same. And I got a whole other coat, which I like better. I actually like better because it's like a winter coat, but it's so lightweight and comfortable, and it's got these big pockets. So it's a lot better for my needs. Anyways, while I was at Gabriel's, the Haitians and the Black Gang was in there. There is a tracker on the bike, so they know where I go. They knew I went to Gabriel Brothers. They knew when I'm on the move. So basically, like, when the bike sits in the garage and doesn't do anything, I don't know if people try to come to my house or not, but I'm not really thinking they do. Because I have a lot of neighbors, and they're all, like, there's one right here, there's one right on the other side, right across the street. Somebody is always home. So it's not smart. Like, and there's also a road right in front. So it's not smart to try to kill me at my house. I'm just going to say. There's too many people. It's a somewhat busy road. Someone is going to see. So that's why when I'm out, like this tracker, I'm sure it's alerted when the bike starts moving. And so then they knew what direction I'm going. So then when my bike stops at Gabriel Brothers, then the Black Gang comes in. And I was in there for a while because I went through the line and returned it first. So by the time, and I said, I'm going to go see if you have another one. I'm going to see if you have another coat since, that one I liked it, but it was broken. So if they had the same thing, I was going to buy another one. They didn't, but they had something I like better, actually. But, so then by that time, there was a Black Gang and Haitians in there. No one could hear because when they were speaking, it wasn't English, and they were watching me. But what's funny is, like, if they're sent to watch me, if they have tried to kill me and their gang has been dismantled and ruined and their leaders have been destroyed, they're wanting to know, like, what am I doing? Where am I getting my power? And maybe they want to kill me when I leave, too. But they also want to know where I get my power from. And then they come in to watch me. I'm just trying on coats in Gabriel Brothers. And so they have to buy something, too, to leave. So they surely see I don't have an army with me. I'm not there with a police officer. I show up, I'm alone. I biked here in 15-degree weather. I'm by myself. I tried on some coats. I went through the line and I bought a coat and I leave. So it's like it's looking more and more ridiculous to them the more they try to get me. And like when I was in line and the guy asked me about my drink, like, you drinking all of it? I'm like, yeah, they got good water here. And I was refilling my water bottle at the soup kitchen. And it's like they see this like like why are we sending all these people to kill you? And then they just see, oh, you're at Gabriel Brothers and you bought a coat. Like, they're like, where are you going? What are you doing? Anyways, so I thought maybe that makes me more relatable because I hadn't been to a store and bought stuff in a long time. So the other people do. So then I went to a store, probably the same store they would shop at already. And I just bought a coat and left. So that means I'm a human. Let's see here. On my way back, a couple blocks from my house, on my way back, I saw police sirens. Wait, the lights, the police lights. I saw the red and blue lights going. So there's the road, my road, which I take down to my house. They know what way I go. There's a few ways that I get onto my road, but by the time I reach this major road, I'm on my road because there's a hospital there. The hospital would block it. So I'm always on my road. So on this stretch, then there I saw two cop cars with their lights going, and they got one or two vehicles. They were like, so here's my road, and then there was smaller roads that come off of it into like a residential street. So I don't want to say a subdivision because these homes were built like 100 years ago. But anyways, here's the main road that goes to my house, and then there's a road that comes off of that. And I saw two cop cars right there, and they got somebody. And they were pretty close to the road, too. So maybe it had nothing to do with me at all. But I think that it did. I think it did. I think they had somebody waiting there. Maybe they were going to try to shoot me or something when I was on my bike on the road. But the police stopped them. This is what, like, maybe they were arrested for some other reason, but I saw two officers. Two officers are not needed because somebody speeds. I've never seen them do anything when somebody speeds. I'm just going to say. This was different. There was two officers and their lights were going. So this was more serious. And it was on my road, like, when I was leaving Gabriel Brothers and going home Sunday night, I passed, and I just, like, looked as I went past. There's the two cop cars with their lights, and they got at least one vehicle here that was stopped. And that vehicle was maybe 30 feet from my road. So it was close, but maybe they were going in further. I don't know what was going on, but the cops got someone on the way to my house. And you saw earlier there was two vehicles going that way. I know they have been trying to kill me lately, so I'm assuming it was for me, but I'm not sure. Okay, here's another thing. This is another way they got me at Gabriel Brothers. So there is a tracker on my bicycle, which the enemies are tracking. They watch me, they know where I go, they know where I am. I leave it on here on purpose. I could walk, or I could take the tracker off. I don't. I leave it on. I leave it on purpose. I want to know what they're doing as much as they want to know what I'm doing. God will protect me. I'm not being stupid, but I think I'm supposed to leave it on. They're supposed to come and try to get me so that God can destroy them. That's how it works. They come and try to get me, and then God destroys them one by one, or maybe a whole bunch at once. But anyways, so they knew where I was. They knew I was at Gabriel Brothers. So they had a woman come to attack me. You would know what she did. So I had locked my bike to a bench. So when I was leaving, she was sitting on the bench right in front of where my bike lock was, and she was smoking a cigarette. And I quit, and I don't want secondhand smoke. But anyways, I'm like, oh. And I said, excuse me, my lock. I said, I actually parked right here. And so she didn't get up all the way. She just scooted over like 2 feet, and then she started smoking her cigarette more, like, and then making sure, like, she blew more of the cigarette smoke on me. And then I unlocked it. I picked up the bike and I moved it like 5 feet away. As soon as I move my bike, she gets up and leaves. As soon as I pick up my bike and get away from her, then she leaves. She was only there to smoke onto me. Anyways, like, that was an awful lot of effort for you to do that. Because I will bike past people that smoke I don't like already. So it was annoying, but it wasn't that big of a deal because I tried not to breathe it in and I unlocked it, and then, it's really not that big of a deal. But, like, they had to coordinate this. They had to have somebody drive all the way to Gabriel Brothers, sit outside in 15 degrees and wait for me, and then smoke a cigarette as soon as I come by. That's an awful lot of work. It was worse for them than it was for me. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, on my way back, I saw someone else getting arrested. I've been seeing, just around my house, people arrested, like, every day. And, like, when the roundabout was closed and there was an officer standing there, and then there was, like, 2 cars blocking someone up the hill a little bit. Yeah, they know when I leave the soup kitchen. I would go that way a lot. So, they know when I leave. So when I see this, I assume it's for me. Because if it was just a traffic violation, it would not be 2 police cars, and it would not be a police officer blocking the road. So there's a police officer blocking the road, and then there are 2 cop cars stopping someone. That is not a normal traffic violation. And, like, on my way home today, on my road, on the way to my house, the cops got somebody in a vehicle. So I think that's for me. Let's see, anything else? Oh, when I got home, I had some meat in my freezer. I let it thaw out. I gave it to my dogs today. They were really happy. They are passed out, totally asleep. So yeah, a lot happened. I'm going to get like 4 hours of sleep. I pray that I will be rested and feel good when I get up. I have to go to sleep. Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, so I'm not sure if the soup kitchen is open. I think they said it's open, so I'm going to go. And if it's not open, then I've got a Panera gift card to use this month, and I'll go get something there. But thanks for watching. God bless you all.